Hi everyone, it's Aaron here from Push Square, and yes, after months and months of speculation and more than a few leaks, it would appear that PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now are finally set to merge sometime this June, with over 700 plus games and more value than ever, if you believe the corresponding PlayStation blog, that is. But rather excitingly, you guys aren't expecting this. I am not on my own to discuss this topic. No, because in addition to one Aaron, I'm treating you now. We're all treating you because you get not one but two, because joining me is Push Square's brand new video producer. It is Aaron Bain. How are you, sir?
Hello everyone, thank you for having me. Glad to be here. Very exciting news to talk about today as well.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to talk all things PlayStation Plus. Now, we're throwing Aaron in at the deep end here a little bit because obviously it's a mega week for PlayStation, but rest assured you'll be learning a lot more about Aaron himself a little later on this week, so look forward to that. But for the time being, as I mentioned, the news has just dropped today. It's still coming in as we're about to discuss it, that PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now are set to come together, and PlayStation players, as you would have seen from the thumbnail, have three flexible options. But before we dive deep into the details, I just want to get Aaron your general impressions after seeing this news. What do you think?
First impressions, I would say the two, so there's the three tiers obviously. I'd say the middle tier, the extra, is sort of the one that's appealing to me because it's saying it will include some of the PS4 and up to 400 downloadable PS4 and PS5 games. And at launch, they're expecting that to include Death Stranding, God of War, Marvel Spider-Man, and so on. And that to me is the exciting part because, as we all know, these games are getting pretty expensive these days. And having that included is really a nice bonus because quite a lot of the time the PS Plus games themselves and the PS collection maybe just doesn't cut it for people at this point, or they've already worked their way through it. So that is a really interesting sounding tier to me. The whole retro game aspect with PS1, 2, 3, PSP, maybe controversially doesn't so much appeal to me. I'd like to know what you think about it. But as someone that's maybe not as interested in retro, it's surprising to me in a way that is seen as the premium part of the package. But yeah, what are your impressions?
Yeah, so it's funny you should say that because I think out of all the three tiers, which we will discuss momentarily, the specific details of, I think you're right in that the middle one, PlayStation Plus Extra, will be many people's choice just because of, you know, access to that rotating library of ever-changing games, or what we think is a rotating library. But personally, I am really excited about the PlayStation Plus Premium option because backwards compatibility is a big factor for me on other platforms. I won't say which one. I think they do that particularly really well. So the fact that we'll be able to play PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 and PSP games, weirdly, it's seemingly natively from the PlayStation 5 console is a major win for me. Still no mention of PlayStation Vita, which I can't quite understand. I know some of those games have touchscreen functionality. You're probably not going to be wanting to play Tearaway. Let's just break it down to the three basic tenets. So you've got three tiers. PlayStation Plus Essential, which will cost you $49.99 per year or $6.99 per month. This is pound sterling, guys, so just go and buy that there. Then you've got PlayStation Plus Extra, which is £83.99 per year or $10.99 a month. And then you've got PlayStation Plus Premium, which is $13.49 a month or $99.99 per year, which sounds like a hefty figure. But when we dive into the details, you'll be able to judge if that's for you, for yourself. But the first thing I think is worth mentioning is that PlayStation Plus Essential, which is the first tier, is essentially PlayStation Plus as it is now. So nothing is going to change. I believe that the current price for a yearly, or an annual, I should say, PlayStation Plus subscription, that price isn't changing. It's still $49.99.
Yeah, that's the newest price, as in maybe for the last year or so, it's been about $49.99.
Yeah, so I think they've done a really good job there in terms of not complicating people or pulling features away from those that are already existing PlayStation Plus members, which is the main thing. So then it's entirely on you whether or not you want to go extra or you want to go premium. In terms of what PlayStation Plus Extra offers, you've already heard Aaron mention it there. You get at launch, the lineup will include Death Stranding, God of War, Marvel Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Mortal Kombat 11, and Returnal. So I think the most exciting games in terms of just gifting to you right out of the box is Returnal and Spider-Man Miles Morales. Both those games are barely a year old. Returnal might not even be a year old. I think it came out April last year. Yeah, so that seems like a really good get. I know this service isn't rolling out until June, but I think, you know, because the major elephant in the room is the fact that PlayStation Plus, Extra or Premium, the main difference between this being a Game Pass competitor, which I really don't think it is, and we can get more into that, is the fact that the PlayStation shows no sign of giving away its first-party exclusive games on day one. So whereas Game Pass, you get Halo Infinite day and date, you can either choose to pay for it or sign up on day one and get instant access. With PlayStation Plus Extra or PlayStation Plus Premium, you're still expected to pay Horizon Forbidden West, let's say, on day one, or even something like God of War Ragnarok later on this year, Gran Turismo 7, if, you know, wheel spinning does it for you, just to get the final PlayStation Plus Premium tier out of the way. So you get all the benefits as before, Essential and Extra, but it adds up to 340 additional games, those from the PlayStation 3, original PlayStation, PlayStation 2 and PSP era. PS3 games will still only be playable via cloud streaming. Something about that console cell architecture doesn't jive well with modern consoles from whatever it is, for whatever reason. Super annoying for me because Resistance 3, my favourite PlayStation game ever, and I continue to, you know, woe is me. But surprisingly, PlayStation 1 games, PS2, PSP games and PS4 games, you can either choose to stream those or play them locally. The one thing we don't know is that whether or not it's only certain games that will be playable locally. Like, so let's say you've got Resistance Retribution, which is a PSP game. They could choose to make that streaming only or play natively, but then you might get other PSP games where only one version is offered, if that makes sense. I'm aware I'm tying myself in knots here, but that is the basic breakdown, guys. Aaron, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, much of what I was saying, it doesn't, like, I agree with you in the fact that it doesn't seem like a Game Pass competitor in the way that it's just angled a little differently. It doesn't seem to be so much buy this package and never have to buy a game from us again, which Game Pass, I feel, is the point. You just need to pay for this one subscription and that will really do you if you own this console. Here with these 3 tiers for the PS Plus, it does feel like more of an optional thing for people that are maybe looking for just a bit more variety, and that I'm not sure how much PS Plus Extra is really going to appeal to maybe, say, people like us that, like you were saying, are really keen to just play the games as soon as they're out. And I'm really impatient like that. I couldn't wait, I don't think, you know, with the idea of maybe at some point this will be added to this subscription service. The retro games, in a way, then are obviously, we're opening this up to a console that it's really been the major pitfall of PlayStation, the PlayStation 5 in particular, just not enough focus on these old school games that a lot of players clearly have a lot of interest to play. As you're saying, you know, you're rattling off some names of games that you'll have played when you were younger and you're just really keen to maybe visit again. I think this will have gives a great opportunity for these people because it's getting harder to get the older consoles as well, and there's a lot of, you know, hoops you need to jump through to a degree. It is a little disappointing for the streaming, and I would be curious to see what the numbers are, particularly with the PlayStation, PS2 and PSP, what is and isn't streaming and downloadable, because obviously for a lot of people streaming just isn't really an option. You really have to have good internet to be able to do that without any hiccups along the way. So yeah, that really could be a major thorn in the side for some players that are keen to go for the premium package. In terms of pricing though, it's hard to say really. It depends on your value of the, you know, if, as we know, some older games are getting to a ridiculous price. People are just really taking the mick, I think, with the second-hand market with some of these things. So maybe this price does look pretty. Would you say that the £100 for the year, would that put you off, or does that seem reasonable to you?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because £100 for the year, it's still less than £10 per month. So when you put it that way, it seems right. And when you take into account that you get access to 700 plus games instantly, 400 of those either being PS4 and PS5, the rest going across those, older gen consoles. I think it seems like a good deal, specifically with obviously a lot of this rests on what PSP and I would say original PlayStation games are going to be there, and even PlayStation 2 games, because you're going to get a lot of first-party franchises like MotorStorm, Arctic Edge, I think was like a PSP game as an example. Like if you wanted to pick up that game right now, you could probably grab it for like £15 pre-owned as a UMD, or you might even be able to download it on the PlayStation Vita store. But even then, like you pay £15 for one game that you could feasibly pay $13.49, which is what it is for the PlayStation Plus premium tier on a monthly basis, and suddenly have access to 600 plus 700 plus extra games. So I think while you hear the figure £100 and it's like a tough pill to swallow, it's still less than £10 a month. It might be double the price of the standard PlayStation Plus Essentials, but for me it all comes down to what games will be streamable, what games will be played natively, because as you say, streaming, I've only dabbled with PlayStation Now in the past, and both times, the two times they've offered me a free trial and I've decided to bite the bullet, it's not been like a smooth experience. But then at the same time, if you've got high-speed internet and the architecture is there from Sony at the back end, I know that PlayStation 5 storage has been a major issue for a lot of people. Like some modern games, they could easily run at 100 gig plus. So you'd hope that PSP and PS2 games wouldn't take up much room, but then it's nice to have the option to stream them there. So yeah, I would say overall I'm happy with this.
What would you then say? The one thing that I think appears a little messy from the outside is the tiered system having 3 different price points, offering 3 different amounts. Obviously we spent the first half of this video just discussing what it was, that was different between the tiers, and from a consumer's standpoint, is that then maybe confusing, or would they rather, as we were saying with Game Pass, it's just a solid single price and that's that, you get what you get? What I was going to say that the PS Plus could really do well in the future, like going down the line, is will this change the overall vibe, I suppose, of PlayStation in a way that PlayStation 5 in particular always just felt like a modern console for modern games, and that's really it. You get what's coming out. Obviously you have that awkward period of an opening year where you're still waiting for the games to sort of pile up in a way that makes it entirely worth that singular console. This though, I think, leans a little bit into the experimentation or exploration of games in a way that they haven't touched really before. Now, gamers that are maybe they get this for Christmas or something, you get a package for the year, and if you had the retro games, maybe you'll think, I will just try this out now because I can just pick it up for this. And going by what they are saying, what we're hoping here is that this is going to offer a lot more of the older games than Game Pass even has, because there's a lot of stuff there that's missing, despite the fact that they do include some elements. So I think there is a potential that down the line, especially with what they're saying will come when the thing when it launches, is that there's just all this room for people to try out the games that aren't actually accessible anymore unless you go out hunting for a second-hand console. So I think it could change the perspective of Sony, because they have been viewed as a company that maybe doesn't really care about backwards compatibility or the older generations. Obviously we had the turnaround with was it the PS Vita store or the PSP?
Yeah, PS Vita store.
So this, I think, is in a way just shifting the perspective, where now this is them clearly addressing the fact that they now know people care about retro games, people want to explore these games in new consoles. And I think this will be really good for Sony. It can only really be a good thing.
Yeah, and I've no doubt in my mind that they'll offer like a week-long free trial, to either of those tiers, so you can get a feel about, if some games do have to still be streamed from either of those libraries, the latency. But I agree. I feel like this could be the injection boost that PlayStation needs, because As we see, all three platforms are kind of handling the backwards retro compatibility things differently, and this can only be a good thing for PlayStation going forward. I tell you that I am confused about the whole absence of Vita thing. Make that a PlayStation Plus Pro Premium tier for my money. I'll pay you £500 per year. No, I won't. But I wouldn't be surprised if eventually we get that library. Again, it gives them some runway to, offer more incentives later on down the line as well. But if they can keep to their promise about 700 plus games on day one, I'd be very interested to see like how they continue to expand on that, because you rinse the libraries like very early on, but then at the same time I kind of hate the way don't tell the folks over at Nintendo Life this, I kind of hate the way that we get like one SNES game and one N64 game per month. This seems to be the exact opposite and more aligned to what PlayStation players want. Anyway, guys, I think that just about does it for this news discussion, discussing everything about what Sony are calling all new PlayStation Plus, not PlayStation Plow, mixture of now and plus, as most people were expecting. That name again is PlayStation Plow. But as mentioned, let us know your thoughts on on all three of the tiers, Premium, Extra and Essential, in the comment section below, and let us know which one you're likely to pick up on day one later on this June. Plus, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave it a like and consider subscribing to the Push Square YouTube channel to stay up to date with everything else PlayStation related. And as mentioned earlier, Aaron's full face debut will be coming later on this week, so look forward to that. You won't want to miss it. But until next time, from both of us, it's bye-bye for now.
Goodbye.